Hi, I'm Robyn. I'm the founder of Equine Miracle, Horse Therapy and Education. I am so excited to have been invited to speak here by a vet of Equidirectory, and I think this is a fabulous idea, and I just know you're going to learn so much throughout the months of this fair. And I hope that one of the things you learn a heap from is from my little videos. So I'm here with my little mate there over my shoulder, this little Icelandic horse. I have been to Iceland and I've seen these guys, and they are just incredible and as cute as, and they come in so many different colours. Anyway, let's get on. I didn't grow up in a horse family. Most people, I think, assume I did. Oh, I did not. When I bought my first horse, I did have a little bit of help from my mum, but I pretty much did it myself when I was 13. And I so floundered. Unfortunately, we bought a horse that had an autoimmune condition, and he became very ill very quickly. But Sparky was only the start of the journey. And I'm still learning things. I'm still amazed when I find out something that I don't know about horses. But I do know what it's like to finally get a key piece of information and think, oh, that makes so much sense. Why didn't I know this before? Or, wow, that's making such a difference to how I work with my horses. Why didn't I know this before? So I think wherever you are in your horse journey, in my more than 30 years of working with horses now, yes, quite a bit more than 30 years, I've probably been where you're at. I understand. I totally get it. So last year, during the first COVID lockdown, I did something I've been wanting to do for so long, which is develop an online bodywork course for horse owners. And I ran 3 groups on Facebook, and we had a huge amount of fun. I was under a lot of pressure. I made videos, I wrote text documents. I felt like I was at it non-stop. But the results are, now I have broken down those courses into shorter chunks, smaller chunks. So at the moment they're on Kajabi online platform. There is Melt Your Horse with Massage course, and there is a 3 simple steps to release your horse from tension, and that is using fascial release techniques. And there's a couple other really mini courses there for free. So I'm really interested in producing courses for owners that don't have a lot of time and want answers. That's my passion. So the next 2 videos you're going to watch are a part of that online course that I developed for Facebook last year. The second one is, you don't need any information you can just start watching it. It's cool. You're going to get it, and you're going to love it, because it's kind of something you already do with your horse every day, or nearly every day, but it's just doing it better and getting a better result and seeing what your horse tells you while you're doing it. But the first video is about a technique called help, and I do explain a bit more about that in the video. But what I want you to know is that help is a hands-on technique. You're using your hands. And H stands for heat or cold. E is a fancy word for swellings that are soft or hard, lumps and bumps, fluidy bits and pieces. L covers all lesions, so lesions can be cuts, grazes, girth galls, rashes, etc. And P is for pain. And you're going to be running your hands over your horse in a specific way with eyes in your fingertips, very gently. And you're going to find out all sorts of useful information about your horse. And your horse is probably going to love you for it. It's a bit of a mini therapy session, as well as one of the greatest assessment tools I can give you. And I know this because when I learnt it myself, it changed my life with horses. And from all the people that have learnt it with me, they all say the same thing, that all horse owners should know how to do a help assessment of their horse. And it would make such a difference. So the next two little things that I'm going to show you, I guarantee if you practice them, don't try too hard, just do your best, practice. Things will come to you in the end as they're meant to. You will develop better communication with your horse. You will gain a greater understanding of your horse and how they're feeling at any particular time. You are more likely to note a change that might prevent your horse being injured. For example, if they have a tight muscle or some tight fascia somewhere, that might stop you from doing a particularly hard workout on that day and save your horse from further injury. And they're definitely, both of them, extremely useful techniques if you have a horse that's in lockup for some reason. So it's on stable rest, or it's in a yard because it's got laminitis, it's been injured. Perhaps your horse has been unwell and needs to be on their own. So both of these techniques are going to be a huge help to you. So enjoy the next couple of videos, and if you have any questions, please ask. And also, I'd love it if you would jump over to my Facebook page, Equine Miracle, whip on in there, leave a direct message to the page that I can reply to, give me your thoughts, good than the bad, or just drop a comment in on one of my posts and say, hey, I've just met you at the Equidirectory Fair. That would be awesome, because it is kind of weird talking here to nobody, except for my little mate over my shoulder, when you know that lots of people are going to actually be watching this. So enjoy the fair and enjoy the next couple of presentations. Hi, I'm Robyn from Equine Miracle, and today we're looking at how to do the help assessment. This is a technique that I learnt from Ruth Mitchell-Golladay when she was teaching for equinology, and I learnt it many years ago, and it is one of the most useful techniques that I can pass on to you. When you're doing your help assessment, make sure you are present to your horse. So make sure there are no other distractions around. Even try turning off your phone. Make sure you are present to your horse for the whole of the help assessment, and you'll find it flows much better. A couple of things to be mindful of. Be very gentle. So the more gentle your touch is, the better it's going to work. And remember, just that eyelid pressure, whatever's comfortable on your eyelid, that's how much pressure you need on your fingertips. And remember to keep your whole hand on the horse as well, so don't just have your fingertips on, use the whole of your hand. So you can refer to your notes for this as well. So if you printed out your notes and you have them with you out at the horse, that's going to be really helpful. And help basically stands for, H is for heat, and we're also looking for cold. E is for edema, which is also a word for swelling. L is for lesions, which also includes wounds, rashes, insect bites, all those sorts of things, and also scars. And And P is for pain, so you're looking for pain responses in your horse. And when you do the help assessment, make sure you engage all of your senses. So you're going to use your eyes to watch your horse for reactions, and not just where your hands are, but also make sure you're checking them with their head and their tail. And if they're not stomping their feet from flies, also whether they're stomping their feet or not. So you're going to use your eyes, you're going to use your hands and particularly your fingertips to feel what is there and what's under the skin. And please don't use any pokey, hard fingertips. That's really uncomfortable for the horse, and you're going to get all sorts of reactions that are not necessary and perhaps not even an accurate reflection on how the horse is feeling just because you're poking him. So it's actually about the less pressure you have in your fingertips, the more you are going to feel. And a good way to test how heavy your fingertips and hands should be is if you touch your eyelid, however much pressure feels comfortable to you on your eye is how much pressure should be in your fingertips, which is not very much. You're also going to use your nose as you move around the horse, because there are some spots that are really tricky to touch on your horse, and some horses may not even want you to touch them there, up around the sheath for example. So your nose might be the first alert you have to a problem with the horse, because something doesn't smell right. And sometimes if they have foot problems, then also you'll smell them as you work your way around the horse. And you're also going to use your ears, and you're going to listen to the horse. If he's moving around, you're going to be listening to his feet, what he's doing with his feet, especially if he's on concrete or something. You might be able to hear if he's loading one leg more or stomping when he doesn't, stomping when he doesn't like something. And you might also hear clicks and cracks that you don't normally hear. So horses are like us, they often do have joints that click and joints that might have a little popping noise. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just something you should be noting at this stage of the course. So the best thing to do is have a pattern to your help assessment and do it the same way every time you do it. And I suggest that you do this help assessment at least a couple of times a week with your horse, if not more often. But don't necessarily start with the horse's head. You know, a lot of horses are like us, they don't like people touching their head, so it's often better to start on the horse's neck where they're more comfortable with you and come back to their head later on once they've relaxed. So it's about placing your hands on the horse and just slowly moving your hands over the whole horse. Try to keep one hand on at all times, because if you take both hands off, the horse often was like, huh, what's going on now? So as you move around, take one hand off. Some people like to just stroke like that. Some people like me prefer to do kind of like an Effleurage massage. And again, I'm feeling for heat, cold, swellings, bumps and lumps, wounds, insect bites. I'm feeling for pain. So what does pain feel like? Pain feels like wriggly, twitching tissue under your fingers. Pain can also feel like something that's very hard, and pain can also feel like something that's very hollow or missing, because the muscle has actually switched off or atrophied, so it can be a hollow where there's not meant to be one. So try to make sure you get the whole horse, and especially up in here, try to get right up in between the elbow and the chest of the horse, or his sternum, because that's a spot where there can often be rubs and holes, wounds, etc. that we don't find out about until they become a real problem. And then go down the whole leg. Most horses are going to think you want to pick their leg up, that's okay. Doc's got his Equibands on for arthritis. then keep going. Try to be in a bit of a rhythm. So there we've got a bulgy spot. I'm just going to call it a bulgy spot. That's the muscle that's bulging out there. Got a little bit of a flinch there. You can see his skin wriggles away from me a bit, so it's a little bit uncomfortable under the girth there. But I'm keeping this hand on as I come under his belly, feeling right underneath there for any problems. And of course, only do things you feel safe doing around your horse. It's not worth doing it if you're not safe. I think Doc's only fidgeting because there are so many flies around. He doesn't normally bother. Now he's not worried about me touching his sheath. So try to feel right up between the horse's sheath and the groin. It's another area that's often missed. And down over his hind quarter. Feels a bit hard there. There's some tight muscle there. Getting right underneath his tail, standing beside him and not behind, feeling down the inside of his hind leg, feeling over this stifle joint, make sure there's no swelling, again feeling around the inside of it, down over the gaskin. Lastly, before I go back to his head, I'm just going to have a very gentle feel of his tail, making sure there's no wounds in the dock, that his dock still feels all nice and soft and flexible as it should be. And now I'm just going to work my way back up to his head. Doc does get a bit worried about his ears being touched, because this ear at some stage is nearly severed. So I'm not going to worry about actually touching his ear. I'll just have a good look at it. But make sure when you're doing your health assessment that you have a feel under the chin here. Again, it's a spot where as a therapist I often come along and say, oh, how long has your horse had this wound under here? And often those wounds are actually caused by fly masks, but they can also be abscesses that have popped out, tooth problems, grass seeds, and there's Dr. a little yawn because he's enjoying his health assessment. Just having a feel over the poll here, that bony lumpy bumpy bit there between the ears. That's another spot that can often be injured and get missed. And then have a feel of those muscles there. In your ridden horses they're often very tight, in Doc they're quite soft. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, those flies. He's got a lot of swelling here. You can see I'm going over the lumps there. So that's his lymph gland, and his salivary gland's quite swollen up there on that side. And that is probably seasonal, although it's actually autumn here. The weather is more like spring. So I will check the other side. So that is your basic health assessment. It's one of the most important tools you will get in your kit from this course, and I really encourage you to practice it. And of course, once you've done one side, you go around and do the other side. We don't just do one side of the horse. Rightio. Hi, I'm Robyn from Equine, and today we're talking about grooming. So grooming is something I was lucky enough to be taught to do properly when I was living and working in the UK, and it's definitely something that a lot of Australians don't do very well, and it's actually really therapeutic for the horse, and it can be a great assessment tool as well. So I'm not going to talk to you about how to do manes and tails. I'm sure you all have your own theories on that one. But just about the main things that are going to help the horse with their body and how to do it. So the first thing to do when you're grooming your horse is to take the mud off with a, some sort of stiff brush, and then to use your curry comb. So I prefer a nice soft bendy curry comb, not a hard spiky one. This is a lot more gentle on the horse's skin. And then you use your curry comb in a circular motion, and you put the pressure on in the direction of the hair, so you're using it in that kind of circular motion. Now watch out for the bony areas. Don't use it hard over the bony areas, and I wouldn't use it on the horse's face personally. But where you've just got muscle, so this upper part of the neck, you can put quite a bit more pressure on. Now if you're curry-combing your horse properly, then you're going to actually work up a bit of a sweat and get nicely warmed up as well. And of course this is a fantastic thing to do before you ride, because not only does it make sure you've got all the dirt off, but also tells you if your horse is sore somewhere, because they're going to start flinching and moving away as you groom them. So I tend to start at the pole at the top of the neck with the curry comb, again not over the bony bit. And I like to use, the correct way to do it is to use the hand closest to the horse. So even though I'm right-handed, I did it that way just so you can see what I'm doing. But the correct way to do it, and so that I can lean into the direction the horse's coat's going, is to use the left hand for the left side of the horse. More gentle over this bony bit, especially on Doc. He doesn't have a lot of muscle there. Getting down into the pectorals, right down between those front legs where a lot of people miss, and when there's often sweat and bits of mud, etc. Muscly bits of the upper limb, fine to do. Coming around here, curry combing this way so I can actually watch his face, see if there's any reactions there, because if I'm going to ride him, I'd like to know if he's got any soreness in that girth area. Hey Doc. Underneath the belly, and then I would work this a lot harder and take quite a bit longer, just going over to show you, give you an idea. Down over the gaskin. I'm just going to swap hands so I can get the hamstrings done easily. Sliding in between those back legs. Again, be careful of those tickly areas with your horse. I know Doc really well and I know he's okay with it. So then, when you do that, you tend to ruffle up all the hair and you tend to get the dirt coming to the top. So then you use a body brush to brush that dirt off. So again, left side of the horse, brush in the left hand. Start up here. Brush, clean, brush, clean, brush, clean, brush, clean. And again, just go over the whole horse. I tend to, when I'm doing this properly, I tend to do 3 strokes in each spot before I move on. Okay, and As I said, swap hands for doing the other side. The right side of the horse, I'd have the brush in the right hand, curry comb in the left, and go that way. Okay, now there are a few other tools around these days that are also good. So there's this little squishy thing called a tiger's tongue. I haven't had this very long. It's good for taking out the dirt and the hair out of the coat. Again, if you're going to use it properly, you need to actually get into it. Really make it a workout. So that you're stimulating the skin, you're stimulating the circulation, etc. And then there's this kind of a tool. I use this quite a lot. I can't remember what they're called, because I don't rug my horses. So at the end of the winter, they're pretty hairy and there's a lot of hair coming out at once. And I haven't tried the tiger's tongue thing at the end of the winter yet. So I've been using this one at the end of the winter. And you just use the edge of it. Again, be gentle over the bony bits. And you can really lean in with it. You can probably see Doc's really enjoying that. So remember to move your body. So don't stand in one spot and do this. Make sure you move your body. Go with the horse. And keep an eye on the horse. So you're watching out for him, swishing his tail, stamping his feet, flinching, pinning his ears at me, all those sorts of things that are telling me that somewhere is sore. And then the last thing I'd mention is picking out the feet. So I cannot tell you the number of times as a therapist I've been asked to go and look at a lame horse, and the problem has been because that horse has a stone, or I've even had some horses with nails and other foreign objects causing that lameness in their feet. So you should pick out your horse's feet every day if possible, absolutely every time before you ride and after you ride, to make sure there's nothing in those feet, and also to give them a chance to breathe. It'll help prevent things like thrush developing in your horse's feet. So, little piece of tinsel so I don't lose it. Pick up the horse's foot. And the correct way to do it is to pick the foot out in direction away from you. Make sure you get right down into those crevices between the frog and the sole. Good boy. Oh, Doc always wants to have a stretch. There you go. That's his favourite thing about having his feet picked out, is having his stretch. So that one's very important, because I can't tell you how much, apart from the horse being lame, having a stone in their foot can really change the way they move. And if you then go and ride them, you can create all sorts of other sorenesses because they haven't been able to load their foot correctly. Alright, so that's the basics of grooming that I wanted to show you today.